107.8 FM.
Hello everyone, you're listening to Radio Amity 107.8 FM and we welcome you all back to this podcast we like to call Talk Through It, where I, Reem Mir,
I, Karan Jain,
create a safe space to talk through some of the difficult topics of navigating through young adulthood. Today we have the pleasure to dive into a candid conversation with Karan and get to know him better and his way of navigating this maze we call life. Hi Karan, how are you doing today?
Hi Reem, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, Karan. So let's just dive right into it and start off with a little simple question. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you describe who you are and what you're passionate about?
My favorite question. Hello everyone. My name is Karan Jain. I recently turned 21, so officially starting my real adulthood journey, if I may say. My favorite color is orange, and you would later realize why it's so important. And some of my interests, I would like to tell you about my favorite shows. I'm a big geek for The Big Bang Theory. I absolutely love that sitcom. Sheldon Cooper is my favorite character. I love what Sheldon Cooper and Penny have. I'm a big time Potterhead. I love Harry Potter. Recently I've developed a liking towards Heartstopper as well, so big shout out to Alice Oseman as well. And currently I'm doing BSc Life Science from Amity University, and I had taken 2 drops for NEET prior to that, so this is me. Hi.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself and for letting us know of all the little quirks you like. I just heard you mention about you dropping 2 times for the NEET exam. And I guess every one of us does know the NEET exam is the All-Indian Medical Entrance Exam for medical colleges, and it tends to be a very stressful period in any student's life. So Karan, if you don't mind, I would like you to comment a little bit more and tell us your NEET story, if you may.
Okay, so I come from a humble background, and all typical parents, if you score great marks in 10, they start having high expectations from you. So NEET is the exam which you basically give for getting admission into Indian medical colleges, more specifically government colleges, because otherwise we all know the prices for medical education. So I was preparing for NEET right after my 10th grade, before even my results were out. So during my 11th and 12th, I was enrolled in an offline coaching whose name is synonymous to Sky. I won't do any unpaid promotion here. Anyways, so in 11th, I had the privilege of attending offline coaching because there was no COVID. But when I was in 12th, the lockdown happened, everything was shut down, and I was stuck at home. Earlier, I thought it was a blessing in disguise. Like, yes, I don't need anyone. I'm like a robot. I will just sit all day in my room and study and everything. And I did try to do it, like, for maximum 3 days. After that, I just realized that it's not at all a boon, it's a bane. That was the time it took me long enough, honestly, but I realized that I had no real friendship with people. I was part of that integrated coaching where my school was associated with coaching. So I changed my school after 10th, so I was not in contact with any one of my so-called school friends. And I was part of a very competitive school where, CBSE toppers were expected from my section. So I come from that background. And when you have unhealthy sort of competition with your peer group, you can't really forge friendship with them. Like, you would have a very professional colleague kind of relationship. You are not friends. You would just talk in the school, and then that's it. That's pretty much it. So during the lockdown, I realized I can't really go back to my school friends because of obvious reasons. And friends you make in coaching, they are essentially your competitors, they are not your friends per se. So I was kind of in a very bad position in my life at that time. And on top of all that, we can't forget that we had this COVID virus looming all over our head, all over the world. And thankfully, my boards got cancelled due to COVID, so I didn't have to give my board. So I thought maybe it's a blessing in disguise for me. Maybe I would be able to prepare for NEET better. And NEET exam was postponed like 3 times. Like usually it was supposed to happen in, like, I gave my first NEET attempt in 2020. It was in 2021. I'm sorry. So May the exam will happen, like in the first Sunday of May, but it kept on postponing, and then it finally happened 1 week prior my birthday in September. And that was like the first big failure I realized like I had in my life. Like, it's not like I've been a stellar student all my life. I was fairly good, like above average, if I may say. But I just realized, oh, this is the failure been, and due to which I won't be able to get admission into my choice of college. And that came as a huge blow, and I was devastated. I was just rotting in my bed. I was not talking to anyone, and no friends also. So my parents decided to celebrate my 18th birthday in a extravagant and with pomp and show and everything. I celebrated my birthday in a Harry Potter theme way. We went to Mumbai to my extended family. Then I had a staycation. We went to Lonavala on a cousin trip and everything. It was really great. And then that was the time I took a break from life per se. And then I got my first phone. So a lot of firsts were happened on that trip, if you know, you know. And I realized, I just, after coming back to Delhi and getting to that sense of reality where I am, and lockdown was still there. So, there wasn't, I just didn't see any point of joining college and, lockdown. So I thought maybe I will take one drop and I will study. There was still lockdown. So I thought I will take online coaching. Still didn't learn from my lesson that I can't study from online sources. I need physical group of people to have to be in that competition to study, to have that motivation to study. And I basically wasted my first drop year. I used to wake up every day, try to study, just couldn't study, then stay up till late at night, and then again wake up late, and this whole thing kept on happening. And again the NEET exam was postponed in my first attempt as well, and it was a mess. I gave NEET 2022 exam as well, and it didn't work out, to the point I got less marks in my first drop than I got in my first attempt with 12th. And I realized it was scary. It was a really scary position to be in. I had practically no one who could really understand me. I had no friends, and thankfully I didn't indulge myself into any bad habits per se, because I was living with my parents right under their nose. So thankfully that didn't happen. But I did develop some weird wrong coping mechanism for myself, and still struggle with that. At the age of 17, what most people have the biggest heartbreak is of a man or a woman. I had the heartbreak of not achieving my academic goal. So now I don't even try to have high expectations of myself, because it keeps on giving me anxiety, or I keep on thinking too high of, I set too much of a goal, and then when I'm not able to fulfill it, I just keep on having panic attacks or being anxious all the time. I developed the I don't know why I'm still in a figuring it out. I went to therapy after this whole NEET thing also happened, with a proper psychologist, so guys, seek mental help if you need it. There's no shame in it. And So I realized that I procrastinate a lot, and then I try to fool my mind into thinking कि even though I studied just before the exam, yet I scored this X amount of marks. If I would have studied before, then I would have scored even better. So this is how I fool my mind into thinking that I'm great, exemplary, extraordinary student, which I'm not. So yeah, and I've never really confessed it anywhere else, but I don't. At this point, I just don't care. I've told this story to many people by now, so it doesn't really impact me that much. I mean, you can still feel that I'm fumbling in my sentences, but I kind of forged my result after my first drop to fool by kind of my parents, and then just tell them ki please allow me to have a second drop. I will do better. I've improved my marks in first drop. I will improve even more in second attempt and everything. And then I was 18 when I gave my second attempt for NEET, and then I took second drop. And this was like for me, I realized that this is the last attempt that I'm gonna give. This is the last chance I'm giving to myself. And I joined an offline coaching, which was like 1.5 hours away from me, away from my house. So I used to wake up early every single day after an almost 2 years of habit of waking up late, sleeping late, changing my whole routine of mine, and used to attend these morning classes of 8 a.m. Even 7 a.m. during winters, during the peak season of winter. So guys, yes, I struggled. I mean, I don't know. And I started taking individual classes for my weak subjects, physics, chemistry, and I did try to study and everything. And then I realized that somewhere along the line, I just realized that I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm just being a part of the herd culture. I'm just being a part of things imposed on me. I started questioning whether is it my dream or is it a dream that is imposed on me by the society, by my parents, by my grandparents. Like I remember when I was born, my paternal grandmother just saw me and said, "Oh, he will become a doctor." And I think that kind of thing just stayed with my mom, and I was too young to remember that, but that kind of just thing stayed with me, and this kind of dream was somewhere imposed on me. I really loved biology, I still do, but is it something that I want to do for the rest of my life? That's a big question. That's the question I'm still trying to figure it out, still trying to have an answer. And I realized that even though I love the biology and everything, but I don't like chemistry at all. I can't understand organic chemistry for the love of God. And I would like to blame it on my coaching professor who ruined my base for 11th and 12th, but let's just not play any blame game, it's fine. Transferring of teachers in middle of the session, and I realized ki you are on your own. Nobody is coming to help you. I have to figure everything on my own. I was the eldest child of my family, and somewhere along this NEET journey, I was having a lot of identity crisis as well. I was figuring out a lot of things in my personal life as well, and that was a lot to take at that age. Like, you can't expect a 17-18-year-old to know all the answers of what is he gonna do for the rest of his life. And then in middle of my second attempt, I gave up. I started going to these group therapy sessions, which was organized by these various NGOs all across India, all across Delhi, Noida, and everything. And I realized ki this is not what I want to do. I just gave the half-baked attempt for NEET, and I realized that this is it. I can't do it any further. My parents still kept on insisting, take another drop, people take multiple drops, you may do it. I was just hell-bent, and my mom was really upset by my decision. Like, she was really upset even after I joined this college for doing BSc. She said that this is not a degree up to your level, you can do way better, why are you doing this and everything. She was really upset for a really long time. So I would stay back at college. I joined the dramatic society of my college, of my department, and stayed back late for practice and would avoid being at home at all costs, like for most of my first year. And I realized my talents. I realized that I'm very good at being a dramatic. So we went to IIM Indore to their fest, and we were the national finalists there. Then I explored a lot of opportunities in college, a lot of leadership positions as well. And college has been a nice experience overall. So I think it was really needed for me, because it's been like 4 years that I kind of secluded myself from people my age and everything. So yeah, this has been kind of like my journey. It like I had a lot of learnings from that. Like, it was not all bad as I'm portraying it, but the bigger picture, yes, I failed NEET thrice, but do I regret it? No. And would I want to change anything? Maybe yes, but I would like to have all the learnings that I got from this whole NEET phase of my life.
Wow, thank you so much for staying on theme and having this really, really difficult conversation with us, Karan. Thank you for letting anyone who's listening and struggling with the same NEET stories of theirs know that they're not alone. Keeping on theme with the difficult questions, I hope you don't mind me asking, does failing NEET thrice, as you've put it, impact your self-worth and how you look at yourself and how you value yourself? Do you find there to be any difference in that?
So my mom, like, as we all know, Indian moms have a knack of knowing things. So she keeps on pointing out to me that your self-esteem has hit a down low and you don't believe in yourself anymore. So that is, and I discussed this in my therapy session as well with my therapist. So how I cope up with that, I can tell you. I put myself in uncomfortable situations all the time in college, knowingly, unknowingly, by the faculties, or I don't know. So I became the CR of my class. I joined the dramatic society. I started participating in various club competitions. I just realized my strengths and I kept on trying to improve it better. The things I'm passionate about, I kept on learning more about it, talk more about it, and eventually somewhere down the line I just realized that I'm more than an exam. Life is more than just passing or failing an exam. And given the whole reservation situation, the less number of seats, and I also feel like all the things needs to be aligned if you want to ace the NEET exam. It's just not how much you have studied. It's very much dependent on your luck factor, what happens on the D-day exam, like what happens on the exam day, because it's just one exam in 1 year. Your life is entirely dependent on that 3 hours of that exam. And just to think about it, it just gives goosebumps. So I just realized that it's okay even if I failed, and I feel like I got very valuable learnings from the experience. So I like to don't see it as a failure. I just like to see it as a learning curve or as a stepping stone to my success. So yeah.
Okay, so I guess we should move forward from this NEET story, not to put salt in your wounds. But just one last question. In regards to the NEET story of yours, you talked of it impacting your relationship with your parents for a while. Does it remain the same, or do you feel there to be a barrier between you and your family, like your parents, or does it get better with time? Do they learn to forgive or forget this part of your life?
I mean, I think eventually they realized how bad was my mental health. So I think parents have the unconditional love for their child, so time heals everything. And I mean, there was nothing to say forgive, like if I failed, I didn't do a mistake per se. And time healed it, and they eventually realized it ki how bad it was impacting my mental health. I lost a lot of weight after NEET as well, and they realized ki how I'm having difficulties and doing basic of things. I was having very poor sleeping schedule and inability to do a lot of. They were the ones who encouraged me, like after my persistent, pushing, ki take me to a psychologist. I will go to a psychologist and everything. So taking mental health is here. So taking therapy and talking about my emotions extensively, I think it really helped. I made my parents realize that I'm struggling, and eventually parents come around. I really feel that parents come around.
Yeah, they do. They do come around. Of course, a big step you've taken is you've accepted to them that you have a problem, and you've verbally asked for help. And as a society, it is really thought that asking for help is considered a little weak. But I'm really, really glad to see that you did. And guys, honestly, first of all, I'd like to say that asking for help is the strongest, most difficult thing to do. And if you've ever done it in your life, please consider yourself to be one of the most strongest people, to be one of the most intelligent people, because you need the help sometimes, and it's okay. So Karan, coming back to you with the asking for help thing, you mentioned therapy quite a lot and that you've gone to therapy. How was your experience in therapy like? And please tell everybody how much it has impacted you in your day-to-day life.
I learned a lot of things I didn't know about myself. Like, initially, when I started therapy, I used it as a human diary. I used my therapist as a human diary. I would go, sit, and dump all the things going on in my life and come back. Then eventually, we started taking measures to rectify or to help my problems. And a lot of people, what people misunderstand about therapy is ki therapist isn't gonna help you. He or she is just gonna, or they're just gonna tell you how to deal with your problem. They will help you navigate the solution all by yourself. Basically, I was very lucky to have a very nice, queer, affirming therapist, and she just accepted me for who I am and just acknowledged my problems. And I think I really wanted to be heard, and I think that was the major problem I had for the longest of time. So I felt really heard after my therapy sessions, and I developed a habit of journaling. I developed a habit of writing a diary and talking more about my emotions, opening up more to people, and not always being the mistrusting people. I chose to become less of a people pleaser, and all the things helped.
So they help you navigate your way to the day-to-day shenanigans of life now.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right, you've mentioned that you changed courses and career paths after your NEET, and you're currently doing BSc Life Sciences. I'd like to ask you, is it satisfying for you to be in this part and to be pursuing this sort of career, or do you feel like this is where you actually belong, or is the need for more still striking you?
So it's been like more than a year now. So when I gave my last attempt of, like, my third attempt of NEET in 2023, so when in 2024 the NEET exam happened, that day was kind of very heavy for me, and I talked about it to my faculty as well and my parents as well, and that was there. But apart from that, I think time healed it. Now it doesn't really affect me that much. I love my course because I really like the subjects like philosophy, psychology, behavioral science. So I get to study biology. Obviously, it's a biology oriented course, but apart from that, I get to study these other subjects as electives as well. So I think that is really helping me, and I feel happy studying these subjects. Like I don't really have much of a problem. I don't like being forced to come to college every day for 75% attendance, yes, but apart from that, I like going out of my house because I was just in my home and those four walls of my room for 4 years straight. So that is this college is a nice change of pace for me.
I'm glad to hear it. Honestly, Karan, thank you so much once again for sharing such an emotional and such a vulnerable part of you with all of us. And I guess from this, guys, what we can learn and what we understand is that failing an exam or something not going your way in the start isn't the end of the world. You're going to find something better and you're going to feel that you belong there. This sense of uncertainty, it goes away. It does go away. So just hang in there, people.
And to conclude, I would just like to say that the reason why I actually wanted to share this whole NEET fiasco, as I would like to say, is because I believe in the importance of stories. I feel like stories are meant to be heard, and there are countless stories that has impacted me in my 21 years of existence. So I just wanted to put my story out in the world, and even if like one person can benefit from it, so I think it really goes a long way. And this is like my first time publicly talking about my NEET story. I haven't told my parents about me forging my result and whatever, so best of luck for that. And yeah, so I'm really glad to get this opportunity. So thank you so much for having this beautiful podcast with me.
Oh, Karan, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. It's an absolute pleasure to listen to all of it. To conclude, let me ask a little bit of a lighthearted yet nostalgic sort of question. If you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? And why? Why would you choose to give that?
For the longest of time, I felt that I'm unlikable. That kind of affected me really. I just thought, yeah, I just need to be on my own. I have to do everything on my own. And after this whole NEET journey, I realized that no, this is not at all true. Along the way, I realized that I'm very much lovable. And again, asking help is not the end of the world. People who are meant to be in your life, they will be, even if you don't talk to them for an extended period of time. People who are meant to stay, they will stay. So don't be too hard on yourself. I would like to give that advice to my younger self. Yeah,
that's a great advice, and I guess we all can use it at some point, at some place in our lives. So just as Karan said, guys, it's okay to not be hard on yourself all the time. Well, I think that wraps up our chat for today. It was a blast talking to you.
Thank you so much.
It was absolutely inspiring to hear your story. And I hope anyone out there who is listening feels like they're not alone. And if you guys liked today's episode, please tune in once again to Radio Amity 107.8 FM next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
ले खुशियों के नए तराने, खामोशियों के बादल हटाने, सोए सपनों में पंख लगाने, लाइफ में आशाएं जगाने, उड़ान है उमंगों की, रेडियो एमिटी 107.8 FM.